Hello, and welcome to Rising Together 50 Voices of Influence, the podcast where real women share real stories. I am your host, Heather Mahoney of Heather Mahoney Photography, and in this space, we're celebrating the power of truth, vulnerability, and the journeys that shape us. Each week, I sit down with one of the incredible women from my Rising Together portrait project to dive into the raw, the real, and the inspiring. These aren't just interviews. They're conversations that connect us, challenge us, and remind us we're never alone. Let's rise together. And today with me, I have Michaela, or Coach Mick, Mindset Practitioner Coach. Hi, Michaela.
Hello, Heather. How are you?
I am fabulous. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on your episode today.
Well, can you tell me a little bit about you, about Coach Mick?
Yeah, so I love what I do as a mindset practitioner. It is something that is becoming of the industry, which I love in coaching. But what I do is I take that next step a little bit further than just your regular life coach. So I actually teach my clients and individuals, whether it's families, couples, all of alike. And I love teaching them the why behind the mindset, how you can shift your mind to shift your life, but more importantly, why our brains function the way they do, but also how to reprogram them, like I said, to give you that shift in your life through the shift of your mind.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that is so awesome. Well, let's start with something a little bit fun. How would you describe yourself in 3 words today, and have those changed over the years?
Yeah, so my favorite 3 words for myself are determined, empowered, and positive. And they have absolutely changed over the last few years. Coming from a tumultuous, marriage and divorce, it was really hard to be positive. Losing everything, sleeping on my mother's couch while being pregnant with my youngest that's disabled yet determined. She actually gave me that inspiration and motivation to be determined to go over that obstacle of starting over as a divorcee of 3 kids and having nothing. And then on top of that, losing my chest. A lot of people will say, how do you stay so positive? And it's because I dealt with, the worst of life. So then I can really enjoy the positivity. And I've noticed a huge shift. The more I stay positive, the more positivity comes and surrounds me in my environment. And I am just so happy to be able to have shifted my own words from depressed and stressed and sad to determined, empowered, and positive.
Yeah, and don't you think that maybe even looking back on this in 5 years or 10 years or whatever, I'm wondering how much those 3 descriptive words today would even change.
Well, I'm so excited. So then that means you have to have me on in 5 years.
I hope so.
That they will change as my life and journey continues to evolve, not just for myself, but guiding and working with other individuals as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is something that you used to believe about yourself that you no longer do?
So the biggest thing that I used to think about myself is that I wasn't enough. That I was almost worthless. And it was because, again, of the environment I was in. Was with somebody that, and in a space where I was surrounded by constantly, it didn't matter if it was family, friends, or, my past marriage. It was those moments that I'm like, wow, like, why don't you see the pain? Why don't you see that I need that help and I need that guidance myself? And it just has changed into such a fulfilling feeling within myself, changing who I surrounded myself with, changing what I was listening to, watching, reading on social media, and shifting that all into positive things has just overall shifted into realizing, like, no, I am worthy of love. I am worthy of that support and the resources. And I am worthy to living a fulfilling life just like anybody else.
Yes, so many other people need to hear that. And you mentioned, and for the listeners that don't know this about you, you had mentioned losing your chest. Would it be okay to touch on that for just a minute?
Absolutely. It's actually one of the most proud things that I have of myself now. Back in 2013, in the beginning of my engagement and stuff like that, I'd always had a small chest. And so I was, convinced on a certain level that having a chest would make me feel better, feel more confident, and everything else. It was shortly after I had my son in 2015. I just wasn't feeling good. I was feeling like super tired. My joints were hurting a little bit more. I felt very fatigued. Even like certain foods that I would normally enjoy just wasn't sitting well with my stomach. And it progressively gotten worse over the years. And it took a long time to find the right physicians and specialists to run 6 months worth of testing to let my insurance know that there's nothing else wrong with me except for my implants. And it was at that time in 2019 that I was diagnosed with what's called breast implant illness. It is a very serious illness that doesn't get enough recognition, and it's not even approved or recognized in the medical world yet, which is super sad, but we are gaining a lot of traction in that. Due to breast implant illness, I actually, during the worst part in the world in 2020, I actually needed to go to the hospital to remove my chest. So I had bilateral explant with what's called a partial capsulectomy, because due to the damage of what my implants did, I actually could not get all the toxins removed. And so that is a chronic thing that I have to actually deal with for the rest of my life. And because I made that decision to think I was going to feel prettier and be prettier with a chest, I now have to wear a prosthetic chest. So it's a fake chest I have to put on every day to protect myself. And I did that in the worst parts of me and in the lowest form that I had ever been existed in. And I truly do believe that that was my, what people say, that rock bottom. I didn't have alcohol, I didn't have drugs, I had breast implants that brought me to my rock bottom. And it has been such an amazing journey, helping women all across the US get explanted, get healthy again. And it is something that I'm very prideful in. It wasn't always like that, but, having a partner now who loves me no matter what I look like, whether it's, just a prosthetic chest or, nothing at all, like, they find beauty in who I am, not what I look like. And that's just the biggest thing that I want to be able to share with the world and especially women today.
Well, I love that. And I know you, and I know that you are beautiful.
Thank you. You photograph me, and let me just tell you that your photography session, it just empowered me in a way that I haven't felt in a while. So I just need to take a minute to just shine on you, because it is when I'm in front of a camera where I actually feel most empowered, most confident, because I know that that image could easily help the next woman in line.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate hearing that. I mean, and that's kind of what this whole Rising Together project was all about, supporting each other, lifting each other up. We rise together. So yeah, thank you so much for saying that.
See?
And you are also a mom of three, and I know you have some challenges with that. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so and I could say with that it used to be challenges, and especially, recovering from chest surgery and, being alone, being a single mother. I actually, which I've never actually put publicly out there for. Miss Heather, you are the first one that I get to finally really open up about.
Oh,
Is it was actually during all those parts in my life, 2018, 2019, that I actually made the decision to have my oldest daughter switch custody to her father. Me and her went through everything together. And to make that kind of decision where the mom says, you know what, I'm not enough for you right now, and I need to place you in a home that I know can give you that attention, love, and support that you need in this moment, because I had two other kids that did not have that father figure in their life at that time, and that they really solely only had me to rely on. So making that hard decision of like, the girl that gave me life and gave me the role as a mother, I had to say, I need to let you go for a little bit, was probably one of the biggest challenges that I've ever been through. And I still continue to go through it as she, is in her teenage years, about to be done with high school. It was in those years that I'm like, geez, I wish I was there, and I wish things could have been better. But the whole, coulda, woulda, shoulda sort of thing, I embrace what we have now. And it's only allowed me to love all my kids on such an amazing level. My son, being autistic, he has ADHD as well as SPD, which is sensory processing disorder. So learning his love language, like learning that he will think that things are hotter than normal or louder than more, or knowing that like he gets loud because things are loud and he's trying to drown it out. I used to think he just wanted to be louder. So continuously learning autism, on all different spectrums and forms, that has really like allowed me to become more patient. And so then it just trickled down to my youngest. She is disabled yet super determined. She was born with a really rare disease. And through years of countless surgeries, procedures, and testings, at the end of the day, we have absolutely no medical reason to how and why she's so special. So even having to shift that mind of like, my daughter will never be what is societal, quote unquote, normal, learning to embrace who she is and how she's made has become almost like a liftness, almost a lightness in our life, where I used to just be like, why us? Why her? She can't do this. She can't do that. I've said, okay, let's stop with the can'ts here. What can she do? What can we do for her? What are the things that I can create or provide for each kid that is super different and super special, but all feel included? And me being home, me creating this life, me becoming a mindset practitioner has just amplified the love of life. No matter if it was my daughter who has never ate before in her life, to my son who, struggles to make friends at times. We've put him in environments that have allowed him to make friends. And we just actually celebrated his first K, which is one of the biggest and best things that autistic kids can do. It shifts their mind instead of being hyper focused on everything to just be focused on one thing. And so it's been great to actually have these amazing kids because I've learned so much more than I could ever teach them.
Oh my gosh, your passion for that is literally giving me goosebumps. I absolutely love it. And thank you so much for talking about that. I know that's very personal, and I know that there are so many other women listening that are going to hear a piece of themselves in your story. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I do believe that, I was here for a purpose, and that's this. That is this exact purpose, is to be that vessel to allow other women, moms, and even men that I've worked with that may be single dads, that they're not alone. In moments that they may feel alone, there is somebody else out there that's either dealing with it alongside them or has dealt with it so they can help them through it.
Thank you so much for that. Yet, if there is someone listening that feels lost in who they are, what is one small thing that you would encourage them to do today?
Well, I can say from personal experience, go out in nature. Does not matter the weather, go out in nature. That type of silence is so like impactful to your being. Going from, I used to work in the casino industry where it was loud and obnoxious and it was fun and exciting. Over time, I slowly lost who I was because I needed to cater to everybody else's needs. And so then when I became a stay at home mom, I was like, this is great. And it really wasn't. Unfortunately, I paired up with the one individual that made me learn a lot. Let's just say that. And I never was able to get that alone time. And I always think to myself, when was the last time, like us women, us moms, actually just sat in silence?
Oh
Like
my gosh.
honed in on themselves for 30 minutes, and I can say it was a struggle for me because I'm like, wait, in one breath I'm being selfish because I need to take time away, but I learned that I need to be selfish with myself. I need to give me my me time so I can be the best mom, I can be the best partner, I can be the best coach and practitioner that I can be for those around me. It's so imperative to take time for yourself, even if that means 30 minutes out in nature. Like, be one, ground yourself in a way that society cannot do for you. You can go to yoga, you can go to the bar, you can go to the gym, but nothing like going out in nature is just amazing. It is like nothing else. And that's the one thing I always tell my clients. When in doubt, go out in nature, reset, ground, and refine yourself in alignment with your purpose.
And that is so true. And it's not, I hate it when people say it's being selfish because it's not being selfish. Like taking care of yourself and being healthy we shouldn't feel selfish for that.
No, if anything, we need to amplify and we really need to like bring awareness and recognize the importance of. I mean, that's no different than when we go on the airplane, right, Heather? What
Exactly.
girl, they put mask on yourself before somebody else because if you don't put it on yourself, you can't save anybody else.
100%.
Yeah, we pour into our own cups. Not everybody, we can't just ask for everybody else to pour into our cups. Sometimes, and I express very much in my Ultimate Shift program, is you literally have to pour and fill your own cup because then when you can understand the importance of filling your own cup, any other energies that are pouring into your cup for you are only going to overflow into the people around you. You are already full. So allow somebody's outside energy that's good to allow yours to overflow into somebody else's.
Absolutely. I was just going to ask you when we talked a little bit about rising together, as that is the theme of this project. What does rising together mean to you on a personal level?
So for me, like, rising together is, and I know it's cliche to say, but it really truly is that collaboration over competition. When it comes to, business women and, what they do, like I am that type where I'm like, I don't care if you are a life coach. I don't care if you're an interior designer. I don't care if I know 50 different photographers. Like, I will refer you out. I will always, if it is in your specialty and I can't help, I am absolutely going to refer you. And I love being that kind of hub. I've been able to have that rapport where people are like, Michaela, where do you get your skin done? Michaela, who is your what photographer do you think about when it comes to portraits versus, your family or seniors or, just typical artwork. Like, I don't ever think that the life coach that is right down the road I'm never going to be jealous of her. She had a whole different path right before I did. And that's where I hope most of us can really start to look into is it doesn't matter if we have the same, quote unquote job or career because we're in the same industry. We've all had personal paths that have led us to where we are now. And I don't like comparing my journey to say somebody who's been a coach for 20 years because they're not any better than me. It's just that they figured their purpose out way before me, girl. And so it's and I'm like, teach me. That's where I come up with the rising together is hold on. We need to ask our people who are further along than us and look at them as a mentor because anybody who is doing more than you is never going to look down at you.
And that is exactly why I am so glad that you were a part of this project. And we only have a few more minutes left, but I would love to hear a little bit more about your project and what you're doing with your business and also letting people know where they can find you.
Yeah, thank you. So, well, first of all, you can catch me on Facebook with my name. And then you have my Instagram, which is underscore the Mindset Practitioner underscore. But my newest project I will be releasing very soon is my online self study course. Last year, I did a little trial run for what's called the Ultimate Shift. And what I really loved during that trial run was I had a very small group of individuals that really wanted and needed that guidance. They had the ambition, they had the drive and energy to want to shift into that better life, that life that they deserve, the life that they were meant to have. But they're like, I kind of don't know what to do. So when I created the Ultimate Shift, it goes over the 6 core topics of our everyday life, but it teaches you not just what they are, not just how to do it, but why it's important. Just like routines, like balancing your life. And the biggest thing is boundaries and communication. And so all of this will be in my online self study course. And what's great about that is, like I said, it's self study. You can go at your own pace. You will have this stuff forever. So even if in 6 months you're like, hold on, I need help in this. What did Coach Mick teach me in that Ultimate Shift? They can go right back into that and really tap into it. I have really worked hard over this last year, really perfecting the self study aspect because, time is of the essence, even though time doesn't really exist, which is really weird to say. But what I love is that It allows people, because we're in all walks of life. So somebody could have a 9 to 5 and they only have weekends available. Or if you're somebody like me, I got all the time in the world right now, so I can knock out a whole program in 2 days. And allowing people to go at their own pace just gives them that driver's seat mentality. They're no longer sitting in the passenger seat, just letting life go by while they just look. They're saying, no, I'm putting myself in the driver's seat. I'm driving my life. I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to shift my mind so I can shift my life and create a fulfillment of authenticity within your purpose.
I can't wait for this to come out. I know that I personally need this, and I mean, I think we all could use a mindset shift, especially a lot of us in business and just trying to get things going, you know. I think this is going to be great for everybody. I'm so excited for you and everything you have done, and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing all of those personal stories. That really means a lot. I know there's other women out there that are going through similar things, and they need to hear these things out loud. So thank you so much, Michaela.
Thank you, Heather. I mean, it means a lot to me to be able to express my story, to be able to help the next person. I was that person where I'm like, well, gee, is like, she went through what I went through. So is that first like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. But like, now I need to follow her. Now I need to see what she did because I wanted to get out of that situation too. And being able to be that vessel for other women is such a fulfilling feeling that now is the time to release this course, because it's also not just for women. It is for anybody who is ready to shift that mindset and say, I'm done living in society standards and I'm ready to live in my authenticity.
Well, congratulations to that.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Rising Together 50 Voices of Influence. If today's conversation moved you, inspired you, or reminded you of your own strength, I'd love for you to share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single story, because together we're creating a ripple effect of courage, connection, and community. So until next time, keep rising.